Okay, we're going to pick it up from where we left off. We're in the middle of the word problem section, so it'll probably take a little bit to get through these. Just bear with it, because you know how it was at the beginning of the year. You just got to get to those word problems. One morning, John drove 5 hours before stopping to eat. After lunch, he increased his speed by 10 miles per hour. If he completed a 490-mile trip in 9 hours of driving, how fast did he drive in the morning? Well, this is where we drew the chart. Remember, the chart was based on the formula D equals RT. We're just going to turn it around and make it RT equals D, R times T equals D, just so it's in the, it flows from left to right, and we can actually compose as we go. So it sounds like we're doing before eating and then after eating. So before and after. So just put a little bit of label out there so you know what in the world you're doing. Okay, now R is for rate. The only thing it told you about the rate is that he increased it after lunch. But other than that, you're told nothing, which means before lunch should be X and after lunch should be X plus 10. Okay, for time, we have that John drove 5 hours before stopping to eat. Well, that was very nice. Then it actually came out and it said, okay, total of 9 hours. Well, just a little bit of discernment tells you that 9 minus 5 gives me a 4 here. Now, if you'll remember, I told you in the chart, the D is always done using the formula. So we need to take these two things and multiply them. So that's 5x. And then we need to take these two things and multiply them. You go ahead and distribute. 4x, what, plus 40? So those are my two little distances. Now, on these, I don't think there's anything wrong with you scooting over here and doodling. Okay, here he is. He starts his trip. He stops to eat. And then he just keeps on going, right? So according to this problem, it's talking about the before part and the after part. But then it's telling you, all in all, dude went 490 miles on his trip. So that means distance 1 and distance 2 have to add up to 490. But giving yourself a visual isn't going to hurt. So you need to add these things. So 5x plus 4x plus 40, or if you want to be sneaky, just add them there in that column, is going to be equal to 490. So we've got 9x, well, that won't make a 9, there we go, plus 40 equals 490. Take the 40 off. 9x is 450. Divide it out, we got x is 50. Dude's going 50 miles an hour. I would not want to ride with him. I would go crazy. So, but that is what it was in the morning. Just verify that you answered the question, because before is what is marked as X. X is what we found, so we found before. It did ask for morning, so we're good. If it had asked for afternoon, we would have needed to have added the 10. So always verify that you answered the question that was posed to you. Okay, we got a plane can fly 480 miles per hour in still air. Well, if it can fly 540 miles downwind in the same amount of time, it flies 420 miles upwind. Find the velocity of the wind. Okay, I can't even remember if we did these, quite honestly. So, but it does need a chart. Okay, so you do need the chart. And it's still the R times T equals D. Okay, but this time, instead of you having different distances or different parts of your trip, you're talking about what is it against the wind and what is it with the wind. Okay, so according to what we were told, it says, let's see here, if it can fly 500 and now that's the distance, right? Downwind. So downwind is with it, by the way. That's just, okay, so if you're going downwind, you're going with it. And I put wind. I meant with. Okay, so that would be downwind. Sorry. And this against would be upwind. My bad. Okay. So, but they're giving you distances, which is highly unusual. So, it is what it is, so let's just roll with it. 420 upwind, that goes here for distance. And then 540 for here. And the only other thing that they're telling you, they're saying, okay, now, it can go 480 in still air. Okay, now think about this. You've got 480 is what it's normally doing. But if you're going against the wind is working against you. So you subtract out what the wind's doing. Now, with the wind, 480 is your norm. But if you're going with the wind, it's pushing you. So it's helping you. So that's the reason the number's bigger. So you've got to add or subtract your wind. Now for t, it was nice and told us same time. Okay, so the times are the same. So you could just put t if you want to because you don't know what they are. But think of it this way. You have two equations. So here's the first one. Oh man, I'm in the wiggle. Sorry. Okay, so 480 minus w, that's times t, equals 420. Okay, second equation. Second equation is 480 plus w, that's times t, that's equal to 540. Okay, they both have t's in them, right? Set them both equal to t. So divide this by 480 minus w. So this is 480 minus w. Oops. All right, so that goes out, and that's equal to t. Okay, over here, you're going to divide both sides by 480 plus w. So if you do that over here, they cancel out, and you got t. So this is equal to t, and this is equal to t. I'm just trying to make this a little bit faster. If they're both equal to t, can't you set them equal to each other? And it should work out just fine. So I need to take my first little ratio. I've got him, and I'm going to set him equal to 540 over 480 plus w. Now, however you choose to work this in your head, it's a proportion. You can either cross multiply or you can go through and you can multiply through by common denominators. Whichever one floats your boat. You just got to get out of these fractions. So I'm thinking cross multiplying is going to be easier. So 420 times that one in the bottom over there. And then 540 times the one in the bottom on the left. Okay, grab your calculator and let's get ready to compute. 420 times 480 is, whoo, Lord, 201,600 plus 420W. Okay, so we have 540 times 480. That would be 259,200 minus 540W. Okay, time to get our like terms together. Looks like our W's need to actually come over here. So I'm going to add 540W. That's going to give me, let's see here, a 0, the W. That would be a 6, and that would be a 9. So I've got those out of the way. Looks like I need to take this over there. So subtract 201,600. And I'm typing that in. So subtract 201,600. That would leave me with 57,600. Divide both sides by 960. And what does that give me? Divide by 960. Just keep all this stuff rolling in your calculator. I got 60. Did it ask me for how fast the wind was going? Because that's what I found. I found the W. What did it say? Find the velocity of the wind. Yes, I did. Now I'm going to leave it right there just in case you need to take a minute to look at it, but that is the answer. We found the velocity of the wind. Okay, so number 11 says, do the operation, express the answer in a plus bi form, so traditional complex number form. Do not use parentheses in your answer, and you also know do not use any powers with your I. You're supposed to use the cycle of I to reduce them out. So you remember I squared, I cubed, I fourth, and you remember it's equal to I1, negatives in the middle. So we have the negatives here. So you've got to swap all those out. Always, always, always look in the middle first. That tells you what to do. This thing says add, so all you're doing is collecting like terms. Now, for some reason, y'all missed these problems on test. Blew my mind that y'all missed these. It's basic arithmetic, or I'll just say algebra. Okay. Put your like terms together. Your real parts go together. That's 12. Your imaginary, your complex parts go together. So it'd be a minus 2i. You're not trying to balance anything. You're just collecting like terms. So don't try to act like there's an equal sign in the middle and you're having to go, ooh, minus 7i, minus 7i. No. That's a mistake I expect ninth graders to make in Algebra 1, not college algebra kids. So y'all should be on top of this. Okay, so do the operation, express the answer in standard form. Do not use parentheses in your answer. Okay, well, when you look at it, first of all, there's no i's. You need to fix that. But when you look in between, oops, I was really aiming in between. That's squished. So you're supposed to multiply here. So this is where you're going to distribute. But the first thing you need to do is to poke your eyes out. So square root of negative 25 would be 5i. And then the square root of negative 16 is 4i. So once you got your i's, it's time to distribute. 2 times everything. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8i. So come back and distribute your 5i. That'd be 15i, and that right there would be a negative 20i squared. So, but remember, I squared takes this, and it's like you're multiplying it by negative 1. So basically, you just change that sign. So that becomes a positive 20. You put it with the 6. That's 26. Put these two together, 7i. You're done. Okay, moving on. Do the operation, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, all we're doing is squaring the binomial. This is the square the first, twice the product, square the last. If you don't like that, then write it twice and multiply it out like we just did, but I'm trying to work under time constraints. So squaring it, square the first, 16, twice the product. So do the product, that would be 8i, double it, 16i. And then square the last. You've got to square the number as well as the I. Well, the same thing happens here. The I squared takes that, multiplies it by negative 1, makes it negative 4. Put that with the real part over here. 16 minus 4 is 12. There's not another imaginary part, so just bring it down. Okay, so do the operation, use fractions in your answer. Okay, remember you're not allowed to have I in the denominator because that's a square root, and that's a no-no in math etiquette. So that's a binomial, so you're going to have to use the conjugate, same terms, opposite sign in between. So when you distribute, because that's what we're doing, we're multiplying all this, we're distributing. So 1 times everything in the top is the exact same thing. When you distribute the bottom, remember your middle terms are going to cancel, because that's going to be a positive 3i, that's going to be a negative 3i. There's no sense writing them down, because they're going to go out. That's your whole plan. So just do your fronts. 3 times 3 is 9, and then a positive I times a negative I is a negative I squared. Well, what we've been saying all along is the I squared that changes it. That's like multiplying by negative 1. Well, that makes a plus 1 because it changes that sign. So that gives me 3 minus I in the top, and in the bottom I've got 9 plus 1 is 10. So that would be it. The only thing that they could do weird with that is they could bust it up and make it look like that. So that might be the answer choice that you need to look for. But it's the same thing. Y'all should be able to identify that. Okay, so solve the equation by factoring. Okay, always, always, always make sure it's equal 0 when you're going to factor. Then go for it. What two numbers multiply to 8 and subtract to 7? That would be 8 and 1. Signs are different. The big one is plus. So the other one has to be that. When you solve it, change the signs from factors to zeros. You are done. Okay, use the square root property to solve this one. So if we're going to do the square root property, we need to get the squared part isolated. So the 81 needs to go over. Once you isolate the squared part, you come in here and do the square root of both sides. These components cancel, and you get y plus 90. And then the square root of 81 gives you plus or minus 9. Please, 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 please don't forget to put your plus or minus. This is a quadratic. You have to have 2 answers. So when you move the 90 over, it's a negative 90 plus or minus 9. Now don't leave it like that. Of course you can't, because on the exam it's going to be multiple choice, and that's not going to be listed. This is asking you to do negative 90 plus 9 and negative 90 minus 9. You got to work both of them out. So that'd be a negative, what, 81, and that's going to be a negative 99. So these are the 2 answers you're looking for. But yeah, you got to have 2. Now this thing says solve the equation by completing the square. Now that'd be great if you completed the square, but guys, it's a multiple choice test. Just get the answers. So if you need to do quadratic formula, then do quadratic formula. We are going to start this one in the next one, though, in the next video, because I'm about out of time. So we'll pick up here.